Hello, Internet. Thank you once again for joining me to talk all things vertical drama. A very exciting guest who is the star of recent release Wild Silence, but also possibly a face you recognise from your televisions. So I'm going to ask him to introduce himself to you.
Yes, my name is Maksim Chmerkovskiy. And aside from complicated last name, I'm from Dancing with the Stars US. I don't know where you are. Your accent is, something else. But that's been my claim to fame, 20 years of Dancing with the Stars.
That's amazing.
I did 17 seasons, but I'm saying Dancing with the Stars is in its longevity. I started in 2005, and last year the project celebrated 20 years. It just seems that because my brother is still on the show, his wife is on, my wife used to be. I feel like even when I'm not there, I'm still present.
I'm in the UK, so it's Strictly Come Dancing, is how I know it.
And this is our parent. This is
Yeah.
the who birthed us. We're very grateful to Strictly for existing. People don't know, but I think that Strictly, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been around for like what, 60 some years before it got refurbished and sort of presented in this new format.
Yeah, there was the original program. I think it was called Come Dancing, and it was a ballroom thing, and it didn't have the sort of the celebrity professional pairing. It was just professionals, but they kind of dug that out of the cupboard, spruced it
Yeah,
up, thought, let's see
yeah,
how, people who haven't got the dance background cope. And yeah, it was born. And then obviously
exactly.
global, and it's amazing. And I think brought dance back into people's lives, which is one of the joyous things about it when it's done for dance.
I mean, brought specific dance, and it's not like the dance itself wasn't present. We've all been privy to it, but we looked at dance like we watched Michael Jackson, like it was something from a different planet, attainable to only the few. It's a thing, yada, yada. I think we brought specific type of dance that involved couples, that involved touching, that involved that sort of social interaction that was kind of the next level of enjoying pastime and something that we were privy to because of the nature of our profession. So I think it just unlocked a lot of things. But yeah, whenever you put a celebrity name to something that can potentially backfire and be a brilliant, disaster, it could be a hit. So yeah, ballroom dancing provided that opportunity for sure.
I love that because you've set me up perfectly. Because I would say one of the exciting things about what we're going to talk about is you are one of the first celebrity names, I would say, who've been attached to a vertical drama, because this is a new thing that's happening now. Sort of people with kind of your kind of visibility and presence are now appearing in something that was quite a sort of niche space. So I have to ask,
Yeah.
how did it come about? How did you get attached to the project Wild Silence?
Did a movie. I filmed a movie in state of Georgia out here with a wonderful production company and directed and by my friend, and it was something that we spoke about for a while. I'm not going to talk about that project. It's not out. If and when it will, then it'll be a separate discussion. But I had an experience in filming, in shooting, right? And I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do. I imagined it this way. It was my first sort of feature. I have been on sets before. I've done some things in the past, small episodal, an arc and, an appearance, whatever. Nothing like this where I'm part of the script from beginning to the end. Anyway, and so then sometime later, that same production company, they called me and they said, hey, there's this opportunity to film vertical. And with this particular company out of Eastern Europe, they called My Drama. And, and I was like, what's a vertical? So like everybody else. So then I had to be explained what that was. And I was like, I'm not really sure, but keep speaking, because at the moment I made a clear decision to myself that I will go after opportunities to film. I'm after experience of being on set, of being in front of camera, of doing the work. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it, even though I didn't know what a vertical was. And in the process of me having these conversations, the big news came out that Fox invested into this particular company. And so My Drama is what famously Fox bought into. And then there was a wave of these sort of opportunities for verticals while we have, literally in the middle of us filming, all these news were coming out. So it was very exciting to be a part of something that's coming to the United States. And as far as the idea of vertical, up until now, or up until Wild Silence, I'm going to say, it was about script. It was just a lack of creative writing, I guess. It was
Right.
more about don't worry about the content. This is during the time when you're doing some kind of house chore, this is playing in the background and it keeps
Mm,
grabbing our attention. And so it's not really, it was these type of projects. Wild Silence is not if one of possibly few that have been written as as a feature like, storytelling. It's truly about certain characters. Wild
mm,
Silence spoke to a specific, arc for the character development. That's what intrigued me. That I'm gonna be able to do some work, in
mm,
prepping that character, that it would be an interesting exercise, fits my, I guess, plays well to the character. It's something that I can probably do a little bit, not, if not easier, but it's more attainable. He's in the woods, he's rugged, he's angry, he's a lot of emotions.
mm.
And I think it was a great opportunity for me. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna say, because I don't know how to evaluate myself. I don't know where it's at right now. It's kind of like out there. I've watched it and I'm not sure yet how to sit with it and sort of process it the right way.
No, I think you've explained one of the appeals of it perfectly because yes, a lot of verticals can be that the male leading role is there's not really an arc. It's very much a stoic character that kind of a lot's projected onto and saves the day. But there's not much, as you said, development. Whereas this actually has a much more defined character and background and emotions, and then obviously has a journey through the movie as well. So yeah, I can 100% understand why this script appealed to you. So my next question is the other thing that really stands out for vertical viewers is just the landscape, because most verticals traditionally have been set in offices or nice houses because they're about billionaires. Jack's an outdoorsman. So how much of it was filmed outside? Where was it filmed? What were the kind of favourite location or the most stunning view you got to see?
It was outside of Athens, Georgia, small town outside of it in Georgia State. It's actually so I filmed both movies there. One was in the beginning of the summer when there's a big school presence in Athens. It's called Georgia State, and their big football program, Georgia Bulldogs. And as you maybe know, in the United States, collegiate sports are a big deal. This is the biggest deal in college sports, not one off.
Yes.
It's Alabama, it's Georgia football programs. This is a big deal. School.
Mm,
So when I was there filming in the summer, there's a town of like 100,000 people. I'm not being disrespectful. I don't know, but it's very small.
mm,
And
mm,
if the school is out, barely anybody around. And then I was filming the Wild Silence in October. School was very much in. There was a big game in town in the middle of our filming, and it was like plus 150,000 people in a very small kind of mile radius. And I've never seen. I mean, it was like center of Manhattan again, So it was very interesting, that town, but the outside area and the woods, of Georgia, it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful scenery, and so it wasn't very difficult. I would say, again, this is no disrespect to the film, to the crew. They're all amazing, in their jobs, and sort of everybody pulled in their experience. It was a small crew. It's just, these are still small productions, but very able, very driven and motivated to do something different for the direction that we were taking in terms of verticals. And it's interesting that you keep bringing this up. I couldn't even understand. I still really much, I get it, but I couldn't understand why not. Why is it that we are the first to be filmed outside? You know what I mean? Like, so for me, it's so interesting how something was developed to such grand appeal, right? Almost like what, 2 billion people, you know, watch this format
mm.
that stayed in the office and was contained to very sort of like simple format, simpler, I guess, character development and all that stuff. So Now with Wild Silence, I was like, yes, I want to do that. So again, it's going back to the first question, why? Because I was presented with so many things that it'll be first. It'll be the first time that we're going to take it outside. It'll be the first time I'm going to give it cinematography that's present to features. It will be the first time that it'll also be a dual format where it will be filmed vertical, but we're going to also film it for the feature. There was so many opportunities now with this movie in both avenues. For me as an actor, it's like, I mean, this is amazing. And it's amazing to be part of something that draws so much attention because of the nature of its business format, media format. And then here I am in the background, as a matter of fact, did a great job, something to be proud of. And so, I'm just looking forward to doing more work, honestly. Like all of this stuff is kind of like happening right here. And I'm just focused on like what's the next script that I have to work on will be. And, I'll be forever grateful to Jack. That's for sure.
I would say you have two co-stars.
Yep.
We have your lovely dog, Max, which did upset me, and also your beautiful co-star, Alexandria. And obviously, Alexandria is highly experienced in verticals. Alexandria's sort of made it lots. What was it like working with her? And I guess kind of exchanging experiences and then working on something that's a pioneering project like this one?
Yeah, I mean, you get lucky when and if. So, I mean, look, after I guess as a 46-year-old, and I've spent my time in entertainment and I've done my time in partnerships, right? So I've always dependent on my partner. Like since I was 4 years old, I started ballroom dancing. It's always like here's your partner and here you go, right? So and then through career and then through job opportunities. So for me, it's always very simple. It's like who's your partner, who directs you, whose vision are we going with, right? And what is the setup, right? And so for me, if 2 out of 3 checks out, I'm good with a extremely low budget production. I don't care about this is not about that because I have a fantastic director who in particularly Wild Silence happened to be Mila, who also wrote the script, right? So she wrote and she said, I want to do it. And that was I believe that we all got very lucky because that happened. And the second thing for me was, who your partner is. And so in this particular script, it's basically a two people play with extras. And Alex was amazing. She came in, I guess she said she did about 40 of these opportunity, of these projects. For me, it's about 10,000 hours. Go get that somewhere. My not to sidetrack, my 10,000 hours in dance happened in Eastern European restaurants on Brighton in East Brooklyn. This has been highly documented. I would have gone in a different direction had I not had this opportunity. If I could make money as a 15-year-old, delivering pizzas the same way that I could and in the same period of time that I could as a dancer on in all these restaurants as a show, I would have probably gone a different direction, right? But because dance was present, that sharpened my presentation skills, that sharpened my music selection, costumes, choreography, putting the show in a certain format, facing different, what I mean? Like there was a lot of elements that I got to learn, not in school of being a professional dancer, but on the job, right? So this was the same opportunity for me, to kind of like take it all in and be part of this incredible project. So for Alex, it was also that. Like she's just gone through so much of this. She came in as a consummate pro in terms of seeing the direction of vertical, which is very important. It's not just being a present actor on set, but it also knowing what verticals have to capture. We're not capturing this. We're only focused here. It shouldn't be a longer than whatever scene. It should be very concise, direct, sort of, delivery is different. I felt like we filmed like 2 movies worth of content because of the nature again of format and the deliverables that it's after. So, those 3 things again, it's it's budget, it's the writer director, and it's a co-star. 2 out of 3, and you have an incredible opportunity.
And I love that you had the director was also the writer. I just think that must be such a gift when you're kind of working on the character to be able to
I
ask
didn't
someone who knows that character inside out.
Well, I didn't know until I knew, and that was the first thing that I realized. I'm looking at the whole sort of big view of making this a success, and I'm like, wow, this thing in its foundation starts with who wrote it and the script itself, right? And then who directs it. And if you have the person who wrote it directing, it's major key. And if they're actually good at it, it's major key because it's coming out of that head. A lot of times I feel like there's a directive, people that go after directive in creative work, it's a little bit difficult. If you're also the creator and the writer and you directing, you give yourself a different opportunity. I know if it comes from my head, I'm going to give myself three other options on the fly if I have to. So I feel like she was so good. And she was also so instrumental in understanding deliverables of vertical format, and how to fit it all in the frame. It was great. I told Mila, she knows that. I wish she was more firm with me to get things out of me. You know what I mean? I don't want to put this
Mm.
out there. I don't want any director in the future to like let me be mean to Max and see how
Yeah,
far it goes.
clippable now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because this can also backfire and I can also explode. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing is that now I'm excited about this opportunity. The idea of acting is kind of like stepping out of your own skin. I mean, it's very interesting for me.
The things I loved about, well, I mean, the whole story, but particularly your portrayal of Jack, is obviously it's someone who's incredibly damaged and in pain and carrying this huge grief, but because of the way it opens, he's kind of forced into action to kind of stop a repeat. And then it's all about the kind of the relationship with Camilla. At what stage do you think kind of he falls in love and kind of that switch happens of he sort of lets her in and sort of start healing?
I feel like there isn't a stage. It's more like it's always sort of been there. Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like unnatural for that type of isolation to have happened in reality. Let's just be real. We don't want that. Who seeks that unless you're really damaged and you've gone through such a trauma? I feel like it was by the time Camilla came into his life and he was sort of like on that ledge at the same time and he saved her and all that. I think he was ready for that button to be pushed. It just needed to be pushed. And there was a catalyst, I guess, at the river, where she finally snapped back and said it. And it sort of like pushed the button and kind of like all that scar tissue got affected and broken up a bit, and she said, you should have never saved me. And, the parallel with Elizabeth and his ex, and his wife and all that. So I think it all kind of came into that one culminating moment, and then they have this, romantic scene at the right there at the river. I think it's just kind of like the way these things sort of happen, right? When you have these, at least one of two people who's just have so much that he held on to, and she obviously has so much trauma that she's gone through. Yeah, they were there to save each other. I don't know who saved who more though, So
Yeah, I like that. Saved each other.
I also liked specifically the way Alex portrayed Camilla because she wasn't really, I mean, she was not weak at all,
Mm.
So that wasn't like, yeah, she wasn't comfortable like in the wilderness, here and there lost her footing, but she wasn't a weak girl, She was someone who went through so much already, So she was somebody who's like battle tried as well. It was very interesting to kind of understand that dynamic.
So one of the joys of the role is that you get emotional range, but also physical range as well. Because I mean, it's obviously it's a lot of it's filmed outside, and it is quite physical near the end where you're dealing with. I don't want to spoil too much, but the various bad guys. How was I guess the physical scenes, and I loved it as well because they completely avoided any temptation to put any dance in. It's all very much
No, I
stunts, but
did.
then stunts will always tell me they love dancers because dancers can take direction. So I'm imagining how was it getting to do those stunts and that kind of physicality at the end?
It was excellent. It was excellent. No, like you looking. I mean, then I started to kind of like understand. Van Damme, ballet, right? Vin Diesel, hip
Mm.
hop. Obviously you got Channing Tatum's of this world and so on and so forth. So yeah, listen, yeah, there was definitely an orchestrated choreography and movement to all these fight sequences. Stunt coordinators he was amazing, and that again, it's like there are certain positions that you have to fill with certain professionals, right? And some
Mm,
positions could have an amateur, like myself, and we
mm,
can make it look good, But the stunt team, man, he was awesome. He put together a couple of moves. He was, you know, diligent in like that, but that doesn't look right for the side. So he would go then and tell the director, like, here's how we're gonna do this. Mila stepped back and was like, all right, you guys put this together, let me see. And then he overdid it, and she was like, perfect. I love that. And for me, physicality was, it was probably the easiest part. Like, show me again how. Okay, 1, 2, and then punch. Got it. So I'm not bragging. I'm just saying and I'm also looking forward to offering that, right? Like, I look at some people out there now that are sort of model what I would want my career to kind of like have a direction. I want it to be this way, right? So they
mm.
offer that. They offer that type of physicality. They offer that type of presence. I saw that I'm big. I didn't know that I'm that big on screen, you know. But here we are. So yeah, we'll see what happens next.
But that's one of the things I liked about it, because it would be tempting at the end where kind of Jack sort of saves the day as such to lose the realism, and it just goes into, and he springs up, but instead it's really like he's in pain and he's struggling because he's been through kind of physical stuff. And I really liked that it was a lot more real and kind of lumbering and people struggling, and he was clearly in pain but still dragging himself through. And I really appreciated that, because I think it would have lost the tone that you'd so carefully set with the rest of it, that had
Yeah,
then gone into, and now we're doing like a, high octane action. Instead it was like it's a brutal and painful, and these people are struggling.
you have to. I mean, you suspend reality, but for how long? How much suspension before it becomes unrealistic? Like I also would felt like he got shot in the stomach. How much time has passed exactly? A couple of days. Oh yeah, yeah. So we're doing the Die Hard thing where he just gets like how much can this guy take, and he keeps taking it. So all right, cool. Look,
I love that,
drink.
actually. Yes, Die
Yeah.
Hard works in that, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this was that. I've experienced. I was like, damn, this guy is just taking this. But by now, I would have want to be like, time out. Can we just take a week and a vacation? Look, I guess, damn it, the Reverend, right? Was that
Mm.
Leonardo's big thing? And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that showed the ultimate, I guess, pinnacle human resilience. And I was like, damn, we're all mere humans. So like, if I can come close, I guess that Jack's character makes total sense.
Um, I have to ask as well, when you kind of look back over the shoot, what was a favourite scene, or something for you that you felt kind of, that one I felt so fulfilled as an actor. That's kind of delivering everything I want to be doing in my career.
I mean, no, no, not yet, that far yet. I
Okay.
feel like I feel like I wouldn't I'll always look back at this and be like, there was some moments, but there was no, it's not there yet. It's not the one I'm gonna be like, and I also did this.
It's a step on the path.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, I'm very proud of this. I'm very happy
Mm,
about the way it turned out. Like I said, I like being part of the something first. But it isn't my
mm.
shining moment just yet.
I have to ask as well, obviously Jack's very handy. That's one of the things. It's one of my favourite things at the end, the happy ending. It's like, well, I'll build this now. I'll just adjust. Are you handy? Is this a
Hell
skill you
yeah.
have?
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, we were, again, we're a couple of miles outside of Athens in the woods in this shack, and that became our home. So every time we'd pull up to the set, I would walk around, I would see where my stuff is. I would by the way, I named the dog Max because in the script, his name was something else. And I was like, I can't even really, doesn't roll off my tongue. Can I
Mm.
name him Max? Because in United States, 90% of Pat's a name Max. And so Mila said, yeah, of course. So I was like, that rolled off my tongue to kind of like scream at Max. Max, come here, sit down. Don't misbehave, Max. I'm like, that makes sense. I heard that somewhere. So it's cute.
So you film it back in, obviously you were saying it was sort of last August, September, when all the Fox and Holy Water, and you go and carry on with your career. And then when it comes out, what reaction have you had? Kind of, have you got a sense of who's watching it and what they're taking away from it?
It's been now as we speak, it's been like what, a week and a half or so, something like
Yeah.
that. We had a very active ski trip over that time, and I've been seeing reactions from some of my friends. They're like, "Wait a minute, what is this?" And
Yeah.
and then the follow up is like, "Wow, this is actually really good." Like, thank you. So these sort of backwards compliments. I think is the expect. There was no expectation of that, but I want to just set the record straight. About 15 years ago, I went through numerous acting coaches because I felt like I wanted that to be my next step. And I'm being
Yeah.
very honest. Here in LA, settled on at the end of it on Ivana Chubuk. She's a fantastic, one of world-renowned acting coaches. Her system, 12-step program to basically dissecting and prepping the script is one of the leading programs right now. She's like the next after the method, if you will.
Wow.
So, I've had that access and I had that opportunity to understand the foundation of what it's like to prepare the script. Like I just wanted to know the work. And then,
Wow.
like I said, the proficiency comes with, in my view, with experience. I've never been able to get that experience because a bunch of kids, the wife, the life, all of the stuff happened since then,
Yeah.
right? But here I am now, and it's like the work I did back then. I went to classes, I put up scenes. It feels like that became my foundation. So as with everything else in life, I'm late bloomer, but when I bloom, I blossom. So we'll see what happens.
I love that. You'd already done the work and it all just took its time and the right projects are now coming along. Yeah, I guess just the final question is just, are there any sort of favourite memories from making Wild Silence? What will you take away from that with you?
I think I'll take away that it was my first. I did a lot of work that you could see. I love that I have it in sort of like 20 years from now we can look back and be like, let's watch this again. And I want
Yeah.
my acting career, if there will be such a thing, to be a little bit, it feels like it's going to remind me a little bit of my dance career. And so I'm looking forward to some of the things that I think I'll be able to accomplish.
I just want to say thank you, and I hope you should be really proud of it because it is a beautiful project. It looks stunning. It's a wonderful story. It's beautifully performed, and I think it's done exactly what you set out to be. As it is pioneering and pushing the vertical format forward and showing that more can be achieved here. So,
I
as a
hope so.
viewer and a fan, say thank
I
you so
hope so.
much.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Like I said, I'm so new to this. I'm not sure yet how to process these things either. You know what I mean? What's a job? What's personal? But this type of reception and this type of conversation and to kind of like be spoken to in such a, decent way, and it's not about the cha-cha. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's a little bit surreal also. So I'm gonna continue doing work, and I hope some projects will come up in the near future that will allow me to also step it up a bit, and I look forward to that.
I'm sure you will. I just want to say thank you so, so much. And I suspect we will be seeing lots more of you, possibly sort of channeling Bruce Willis and Die Hard again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hope so.